Hey y'all, my name is Christina Sisson. In the past 20 years, I have taught music at all levels to all kinds of students. I have witnessed firsthand the kinds of challenges music teachers face in the classroom every day, and it is my hope to address some of those issues you care about most. Each week, we will be talking to teachers at all levels about what it's really like to teach today and having real conversations about equity, identity, and the systems we work in, and the small victories that keep us going. So pull up a chair. It's time for our weekly staff meeting. Let's talk about the things that matter. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Cieran Sontag, music teacher at North Florida School of Special Education in Jacksonville, Florida. Cieran took a rather non-traditional route to becoming a music teacher and has found himself in a non-traditional environment where his unique experience has served him well. Welcome, Cieran.
Hey, Christina, thanks for having me.
It's so wonderful to have you today. I was wondering if you could start out by telling us a little bit about your experience and the school that you work at.
Sure thing. I am the music teacher at North Florida School of Special Education, like you said, in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm in my 12th year now, which is crazy to even just say that. I started as a volunteer here. I had no interest or background or formal training to being a teacher. I was just looking to fill some volunteer hours. I needed 40 hours to graduate with an honors degree. And I had found this school through a gig that I played with my band at the time. I was the front man, and we played a 21st birthday party for a young adult with Down syndrome. And I had met the head of school, and she and I, we got along, we chatted, but nothing ever came of it. And I needed to fill these 40 hours in my, how it is. You start college your freshman year, and you're bright eyed and bushy tailed, and you go and you get a bunch of volunteer hours right away, and then you forget about it for like 3.5 years. And so I was in my final semester and realized that if I wanted to graduate with honors, I needed these volunteer hours. So I found the school. I thought about the school, and I got involved with their talent show. And my background as a performer was perfect. And that year, I ended up being on stage for many of the acts. I actually learned the Wiggles for the first time. I had never really watched the Wiggles. I learned the Wiggles to play with some first graders, and I played the song by the Wiggles, and they danced, and it was super fun, and it was amazing. And I did those 30 hours, and then I hosted a nonprofit organization kind of banquet for the graduating seniors where my band played, and we gave out awards for the best dance moves. It honestly, it was just like it was kind of a magical place. I came in here and I just kind of felt like I belonged. And I had never really worked in the special needs community. I had never really worked as a music teacher. I had never taken an education course, but I found this natural calling to spend more time there, and I just felt like I could be myself, and I felt celebrated. I felt like the students allowed me this freedom to just just really be authentic and share my love of music. And I think that that's what led me to the following year after I graduated. I think I had a job waiting tables to get me through senior year, and I it was coming up to August, and I was like, I got to do something different. And I wrote an email to the head of school, and I said, hey, I noticed you guys don't have a music program. I want to come and teach music. And they said, it's a little bit it's too late in the game. We're starting school next week. We can't we don't have it in the budget, but we'll send out a letter to parents, and you could do after school music lessons. And so I started with I think 8 to 10 students, and I was doing 30-minute lessons, and I had some students in elementary from 6 years old all the way up to young adults age 24, 25. And it was really like therapeutic music lessons. And I just continued to work with the students and kind of learn this population. I work with students from age 6 up to, at that time, 22, and now up to 12th grade, so 18 years old, with mild to moderate intellectual differences. So just learning how to work with the students, learning how to be present with them and how to be patient with them through those after school lessons. And then we started a club, an after school club, and students came in and they all signed up, and it was just like electric. Everybody loved it. They and I met literally some of my best friends to this day volunteering in that after school music club. And then the following year we started the program up, and it was, I don't know if you're how your experience has been starting up a program. It started just like 3 days a week and alternating schedules, and then until it was fully developed. So it took a couple years to get it really off the ground, and now I have 25 classes a week. I've been full time for almost a decade now, but just getting the program off the ground, I just saw this place that could really benefit from music, and I knew that I wanted to impact my community through music, and I saw this need that I could fill, that I knew that I had the heart to fill that need. And so I just took a chance, and here I am 12 years later, um, with my classroom. You can see behind me, that was not here when I first started. We've gone through a full capital campaign. I was in a little portable. Now I have a classroom with ukuleles and drums and like all brand new equipment and things like that that have been invested into this program. Um, so that is like that is kind of where I started and kind of where I am now. So yeah.
So I'm curious, like when you came in on the first day, like what kind of was your vision for this? What did you see it being, and has that changed over time?
Yeah, so my vision, I remember writing up like a syllabus or like a uh my goals for the students, and I came and I brought it to their academic director, and it was like students will be able to read notes on a treble clef, on a bass clef, and I had laid out these expectations that I thought was almost like requirements for entry of like a music program. And when I got to her, she kind of like chuckled a little bit. She said, I have kids who aren't reading English. Y- you can take a lot of this away. You I think you're trying really hard, and I love that, but maybe just focus on like, yeah, you're going to teach music. You don't need to worry about this music literacy. And I think that that is the thing with academics. A lot of times, oh, well, things have to be a certain way. And then she kind of just gave me a perspective. It's like, well, we're working on functional math, functional language, and reading skills with some of these kids. You're gonna have to set the expectation a little bit differently. And I mean, that was just because I hadn't ever worked with this population before. So I was going in blind. But so that is one really funny story. But my first day, I was teaching music lessons, and that went well. I got a couple little stories. I had a student who was 6 years old. He's the youngest grade band. His mom signs him up for piano, and I'm excited. He's excited. And when I started playing the piano, and I'm telling you, back then they had me in a little broom closet. And so I would go in after the school day was over, and I would take my kids from their classrooms, and we would go into this little closet. I mean, that was all I had. And I would set up the keyboard on a little table, or I would have the guitar with the music stand. And so this little 6-year-old comes in. He's so excited, and he just starts playing the piano with his elbows. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" I have no idea what to do. But through that, I started to learn redirection, behavior management strategies in a fun way, and not in so many words. I was just trying to get through 30 minutes and have him play some notes so that his mom would be like, "Oh, this is good." Well, and crazy story, that same student, I love this because he's a Guinness World Record holder now for being like the youngest person with Down syndrome to run a triathlon or to compete in a triathlon. So that's like my claim to fame, that I was his music teacher, his
That's
first
incredible.
piano teacher.
I love that.
So one more quick little story. So that was the lessons. And then we started doing the after school club, which is more like a traditional classroom setting. Um, and I remember writing a lesson plan. This really cool. I thought this really cool lesson plan about mu- music all around us. And I had a video. It was like a little 5-minute video of this guy who established microphones on plants, and he created a whole song on the sounds of nature and the plants, and I showed it to the class. And then we went out into the garden because our school has a garden, so I wanted it to be unique. And we were exploring sounds and kind of doing like a found sound lesson, right? And I'm thinking this is going great. And we get through all of the stuff that I had written out. And I looked down at the clock and it had been like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I have an hour. I have an hour with these kids.
Oh no.
What am I gonna do? And I mean, I really was intentional and planned this lesson. So but the silver lining is that I was so nervous that day to go in there that I was just like strumming my guitar and singing, I love music. And I was like, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. You repeat after me. And then one of the students, after I was singing, I love music, they were repeating it. It was kind of going nowhere. It was kind of just like, okay, at least we're having fun. And he raised his hand and was like, I love my school. What about my school? Can we sing I love my school? And that has like turned into our school's anthem. I love my school. North Florida school is where I want to be. So and the lyrics are North Florida school is where I want to be. That's where I can be, just who I want to be. So this song has been like a thread. We just sang it on the first day back to school assembly. We sing it with the whole school, and it's been, that was 13 years ago that this one student just said, "Can we just sing I love my school?" And then I turned it into this songwriting exercise, and that was it. It was just me improvising and going like, "I have 40 minutes to fill. What do I?" And it was like, "Well, what do you love about your school? Let's sing." They're like, "I love my friends." I was like, "You love your friends? I love my teachers." So I was like, "All right, the next verse is about friends and teachers." And so I think that when you're in a classroom, you can plan and you can overplan, but when you leave a little bit of room for the lesson to breathe, some magic can happen. Some really special things can happen there when you are flexible enough uh to let the lid off a bit, I guess.
I'm curiously use that because I that flexibility is so necessary no matter what you're teaching. Um, how do you think that you have changed maybe as a teacher? I guess I mean, you kind of came in, empty and willing to do whatever. But how has that changed in working with students with these specific disabilities?
Yeah, I mean, so I love that you said the word empty because like I was a vessel. I was so just like almost like a sponge, willing to soak up anything, and I was eager to find mentors and find people who knew things. And I remember like going into my audition day or like interview, but it was like teaching a class, and like staying up the night before with another teacher at the art teacher at the school, and drinking IPAs and writing my lesson plan and asking her for input. But just that feeling of being like, I wasn't so full. There was space to fill the jar with different ideas and different I could pull from so many different places. Um, and really working, like you said, I work with students, and there's been a little bit of a culture shift here in Jacksonville. I'm not sure around the country, but we're trying to get away from that word disability, and really focus on the ability part of that. And it's called the able campaign, connectable. It's called the connectable campaign, and it's about really focusing on what are the abilities that these students have. And our school's mission statement is discovering and fostering each student's unique abilities within an engaged community. So it's finding the able part of that word. And so we're really trying to shift the language from disability to we use a lot of times intellectual differences or intellectual and developmental differences. Um, it's a pretty easy switch. It maybe took me a couple of times when it was first rolling out, but for me, it's like it's my first instinct now. So if you want to spread that too, it would be great. Just referring to our students in the special needs population, just using that terminology, intellectual and developmental differences. I think it is a bit more humanizing and making people feel that they are, you know, they just have differences. And I mean, if you look around the world, everybody is different, right? So, but anyway, what going back to your question about, I knew nothing, and I think people there's a whole degree program on how to teach students in special needs or students with intellectual differences, and, um, I think that for me, my first priority and first instinct was like, um, how can I treat these students with dignity, with love? How can I build a culture in my classroom? Because, this is my space. And so whenever someone walks through the door, it's like my responsibility that they feel loved, they feel welcome. I might get like a little bit emotional as I'm talking about this because it's just such a big part of my identity is just not seeing someone based on like their limitations, but seeing them based on the potential and the possibility that they have. And music is just like the perfect place. It's the perfect vehicle for that because, I mean, some people are super talented musicians and some people are not. But there's always a place in music for them, whether they're participating, enjoying. And I think that as a teacher, finding that role, you have an idea of what, or maybe you have an expectation or an output that you have to meet, right? You have a performance that you have to get. And a music teacher, right? You have performances that are set and you have expectations from your bosses, from your communities. You have these obligations. But you have an obligation to the students too to find their place within whatever that requirement is that you have to fill is like finding a place that highlights what that student is best at. And I think I'm pretty good at it. I have a good track record of just finding places where I can, okay, this student can play the boom whackers for this part. This student is great at keeping the beat. I'm going to put you on the drums. Um, I think especially working with people with intellectual differences, I know that my choir will not be singing at Carnegie Hall, okay? But my choir will make a lot of people feel something. And I think that that's as important as a choir that sings the tightest harmonies. It's just music should make you feel something. It should inspire you. And so I just yeah, the flexibility comes when you can kind of let go of expectations. And just really I think that all musicians you don't get into this field unless there's something that is bringing you joy from it. There's some kind of drive inside you that like you can't not play music. You can't not make music. And then when you get to pass it on to others and see that spark, it's like it inspires you even more. Um and I don't know, I'm probably just on some tangent right now, but I get really excited just talking about these ideas because you know, we have such a big, I want to say responsibility, but this big like privilege to share this special thing, music, with so many people, not just the students in our classrooms, but then like our entire community when our students get to perform. And I think I don't know a single music teacher who's not like expected to put on these performances, and it can be really um burdensome, and it can feel really, there can be a lot of pressure and anxiety tied to it. um but man, when you see like an impact, or a parent comes to you and they're like crying, I never thought my kid would be able to sing, and you just like, or that they've been told no before. They've been told like, yo, you're not good enough to sing in this choir or something. And then I get to be the one who's like, everyone is welcome to be in my choir. I want you to be. I hate saying no. I want everyone to feel that joy, you know?
I love that. I love the idea of kind of meeting your students where they are, and when you have a population of students who is outside of the mean, um, figuring that out, where are they and where can they go is a huge challenge. And I appreciate you bringing up the idea of the language that we use to describe our students. And I think that that's part of it, and that if we're thinking of a student in terms of a disability as opposed to an ability, we're already kind of getting into a deficit mindset. What can't they
Yes.
do? And that thinking of them as just having a difference. Well, okay, it's different. What's different about it? And what direction do we go for that difference
Yeah,
is
all of a sudden
so
it's
like,
exciting. Oh, they're different. How
yeah,
are they different? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I guess before we wrap it up, I want you to talk a little bit about just sort of how you come at music education, what your philosophy is. What is it when your students leave you that you want them to leave with?
Yeah. So early on, I got this curriculum, and I got a sample. Like, we didn't buy the curriculum. We got a sample like from some conference or something. And on the back of the textbook, it said like instilling a lifelong love of music. And I loved that. And I do feel like every music teacher's job is to instill a lifelong love of music, right? But in my old age, I've been called on by a lot of younger people to kind of mentor them. And I've had like, I feel really, really honored and just even flattered that you've invited me to share my testimony here with you, my little story. Because I hope that it inspires someone to want to make a difference in someone's life using music. But to some younger teachers, they've been coming to me and saying, how do you so I've had 2 emails in the last month or so. I guess all the teachers are going back to school, and they're saying, "I my district has added a new class. I'm gonna be having a special needs choir. I'm gonna be working with the special ed department." And then another one was the same thing. I'm working with the special ed music class, and I have no idea where to start. And they're like, "I found you on YouTube. You seem like you seem like you know what you're doing," which already is a huge compliment because I don't. But um and I just have responded and say, okay, first off, if you ask more specific questions, I can give you more specific answers. But like, here is my general philosophy in starting is like, when your students come in, my philosophy is the most important thing is that they feel loved and they feel like they're in a safe space, right? Who's going to make music? Who's going to go out on a limb if they don't feel safe and comfortable in your classroom? So, that for me is like, they should feel loved. They should feel like you care about them. And I think that that's not just music teachers, that's every teacher around the board. That's like, in my opinion, that's like number one priority. That's like entry level. You have to make your students feel like you care about them. It would be even better if you really do care about them, but you have to at least make them feel like you love and care about them. Um, and then second is like you said before, meet the students where they are and find their strengths. And then here's another thing for younger teachers. I have now, because I'm at a private school, we don't have the strict requirements that a lot of state funded schools have. I don't have a teaching certificate or degree. I have done some trainings and things like that, conferences, but no formal education, and it's not required. It is maybe recommended, but not required. And so at our school, because we have a wide variety of resource classes, we do have some people who are from that non-traditional background, and I think that that's kind of like our special sauce is that we have people who are really passionate, and that makes them really great teachers. And so some of the younger teachers have been coming to me. This last week was our pre-planning, and they were feeling a little bit overwhelmed at getting everything into plan book and all of the lesson plans. And I just looked at them, and I like this. This was a new thing for me. It just happened in the moment, but I said, you know, I want you to just remember what's important. This. You have the students. This is important. This is not important. Typing on a keyboard, it is like, it is important, but this is the real thing. Working with the students. That is why, why are you doing this? Because I love writing lesson plans. No, no one ever said that. You're doing it because you love spending time with students and sharing what you're passionate about with them. So I was like, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, just slam the laptop shut. Like, just if you know up here what you're gonna do, and you're going to, and as long as you remember that this is the important thing, is the relationships, it's the community that you build through your classes. And I'll never forget my first year coming in, like you said, as an untrained, non-traditional. I was a singer in a reggae band. I just wanted to be like a famous singer. Um, and I came in and I was really eager and I worked really hard on my lesson plans. But my supervisor at the time, she called me in and it was the first week and she just was checking in with me. Hey, how are you feeling? And I was like, I feel good. I got these lessons, I got these activities, I'm ready to go. And she said, if at any time you just feel like it's not going a certain way or you're having a hard time, just like don't don't be afraid to put the guitar on and sing a song. Don't be afraid to go back to like your identity, what makes you you and what got you into this in the first place. So um I think that being I've said before, I love my job because I get paid to just be myself with my students. I love music, so I hope it makes me a great music teacher, but I really believe that if you're not passionate about what you're teaching, it's gonna come across. People are gonna know. Um, and I just really feel like it all has to come from a place of real, authentic love. And I've said it a few times now, but yeah, when you're a music teacher, you create a place where people can come together and create something. It's intangible. It's like you're creating something out of nothing and you're building foundations for people to explore and express themselves. And especially at a school for some kids who have challenges with speech issues and things like that, helping them develop that voice and find that voice, that's a really, really special gift that you have.
That's really incredible. I guess before we disconnect and call it a day, I'm curious if you, off the top of your head, and I'm just springing this on you, do you know of any, like, if we've got a teacher who's getting an SLC class for the first time and they don't know what to do, what can they do to even just get a grip on how to do a class like that?
So I would say start with the basics. Just start with do re mi and start with, you can see it behind me, my video tech teacher, he helped me set up the stream and he put that ta ti ti ta. Start with ta ti ti ta. Start with do re mi. If you're lucky enough to have some instruments, great. Put an instrument in someone's hand and see what they do, and then go from there. You can really, if you're getting your SLC class for the first time, s- presume here's a strategy that I was taught in my over the years is presuming competence, right? You presume that they can achieve what, you know, what all your other students can. And then maybe you have to adjust the bar here and there realistically, but go ahead, use that same choir lesson plan that you used with your high school choir, the choir that was going to state competitions. Go ahead and use that same lesson plan and see what happens. I think that you might be pleasantly surprised that maybe it might not sound quite as good, but like you will finish the class and feel like maybe the whole world has changed for someone. Maybe it's you. So yeah, start with the basics and then presume competence. See, try some of those activities that you've done with your typical classes, and you never know. I think you just never know what could happen if you give someone the chance to rise to the expectations, you know?
I love that presuming competence because I think
Yeah.
that's a big first step. Assume that your kids can be successful. But if you don't do that, you're not gonna stand a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is probably one of the scariest things, especially for younger music teachers when they get that class that's a little bit outside the box, and I think that it's I I would hope that we're telling them that it's okay for you to also be outside the box for those
Yeah.
classes, and we
I will
can we can
if I could just say one more thing is that I didn't realize, and maybe this is covered when you get a master's of education. I really didn't realize how much of my job was going to be behavior management. And I think that maybe, no, I definitely know it's not just special needs classes. All teachers have to do a lot of behavior management. Um, for my school is all students with intellectual differences, and we do just a lot of behavior coaching and positive praise and pivot praise and redirecting. And like you will learn a lot of strategies if you're open to it. But for those new teachers out there, just know that you are going to be a great parent one day because you're going to learn how to manage behaviors really, really well. Um,
Thanks. Thanks. Well, I thank you so much, Karen. Maybe we can come back and check in. I would love to, for you to be able to share kind of what your kids are doing maybe in the future. But for
Absolutely.
now, we wish you the best this year with your students. And I thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christina. It is so great to see you just creating this platform and like just connecting people, just building bridges, and kind of hopefully someone hears this and feels like heard or seen, you know, like, oh, I'm not going through this alone because there are so many daily struggles that teachers, especially music teachers, go through that sometimes you talk to someone and you go, "Oh, I thought it was just me." So thank you for doing this and opening up this community. I will definitely check back with you. And if you're ever in the Jacksonville area, please stop by. We'd love to have you sit in on one of our music classes.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Karen. You have a good
All right,
one.
Christina, you too. God bless.